Hey everyone. Wow, what a day it has been. But first, I think it's fair to start with the diet update. So, let's do that. Today I weigh 148.6 pounds. That's about, I'd say, 6.6 pounds down from yesterday. Very nice indeed. Alright, well, what was eaten today? Let me think. In the morning, I had a keto-friendly peanut butter and jelly sandwich with the keto bread, the my normal jelly, and regular peanut butter, and a cup of coffee. Then, in the mid-afternoon, I had a chorizo and egg burrito using carb-balanced Mission tortilla provided by our family friend, which was fantastic. It tasted amazing, especially with a little sprinkle of queso cheese. Yummy. And then after that, I remember I was chewing some gum. It was specifically the Sour Patch Kids Zero Sugar gum, sweetened by xylitol. It wasn't bad at all. And then finally, the last thing that I had today was, I had a Celsius drink that was cherry cola flavored. Wasn't a huge fan of that one. That one tasted a little too artificial for my liking. And the last thing I had today was keto-friendly cauliflower fried rice with egg and bacon and garlic and also ginger. It was very good. It even had soy sauce, a little bit of fish oil, not too crazy about the smell, but when it's blended with the other ingredients, the bad smell goes away, and a little bit of sesame seed oil. I also had the leftover chicken that I slightly undercooked yesterday. And I kind of wish I didn't, but we'll get to that a little later. Alrighty, well, what did I end up doing for exercise today? Hold on. Well, I pretty much did a little bit of a half-hour walk in the late afternoon from like 9 to 9:30 p.m. And I also did a little bit of window shopping walking at a Aldi's. So, overall, not bad either. Alrighty, now that we've gotten our diet update out of the way, we can go on to the daily update. So, I was woken up by my mom at around 8:30 a.m. in the morning. She wanted me to move my car out of the way because my car was parked behind her and she needed to leave for work. So I groggily got out, I slipped on my shoes, I walked outside, and I parked the car off into the side of the road so she could go to work. When she left, I walked back in the house and I was feeling a little bit hungry, but I decided to go to the TV instead. I grabbed the remote control, I turned on the TV, and I went to the YouTube app, where one of the first recommendations for me was the new food pyramid that was being revealed in America by the elected officials. And I will say, I do appreciate the news because it seems like the guy who's heading it, I think his name's Robert F. Kennedy, he seems to be a huge fan and proponent of getting people to just, eat healthy in the first place so they don't have to take any of the drugs or prescriptions offered to them by pharmaceutical companies that don't really want to address the core problem, but instead want to just make a quick buck off of people's poor decisions on how they decide to feed their bodies. And a lot of it really isn't their fault. It's the a lot of the notion of what people eat gets perpetuated by like that original food pyramid where it was like, ooh, milk, and lots of bread, lots of grains and things. But based on what the presentation was about, it said that a lot of the advertisements of what people should be eating before was just to basically serve corporate interests and not to better the health of the general American public. And right now it seems like they're going in the opposite direction where they're trying to encourage people to eat more whole foods, eat more greens, vegetables, fruits, good fats, like avocado oil, grass-fed butter, extra virgin olive oil, things like that. So, I really did appreciate the message. I decided to pause the video, go to the kitchen, and make my keto-friendly peanut butter and jelly sandwich with a cup of coffee. And then, when I walked back into the den, I decided I was done with it, and I pressed in the button of the remote, which is an LG Magic remote for the C1 TV. And when I pressed it, suddenly the little ball that you can zip up and down and press into got pushed out of its socket. And when that happened, I knew that was bad news bears, because that middle button specifically is needed to navigate the menus by selecting things. So it's a select button basically. And I pushed it, and then the button got pushed into the remote, and it was inside the remote. Now, this wouldn't be a problem if LG made it easy to get into the remote to quickly repair it. But guess what? They don't. In fact, I was trying to look up a tutorial on YouTube on how to fix the issue, and what I found out was that the remote, you have to pry open with a special prying tool. And luckily I did order a prying tool a while back to fix my PlayStation 5 controller when the control sticks got, the rubber got ripped off. But when I tried to pry the controller open, no matter how hard I tried, and then I went to look at whatever tool I had on hand, I found a metal tool with a thin slip that I could slip into the controller and try to dig and pull as hard as I could. No matter what I did, the controllers, the prying just wouldn't get the front face cover off at all. No matter how hard I tried, it just was stuck on there for good. It was terrible. And I spent 2 hours trying to pry the controller open. I went through every method, a little butter knife, a little credit card that it's not used anymore, the prying tool, everything I did to slip into the little crack to open it, and nothing. It just wouldn't budge. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll bite the bullet and get a new controller instead. And I let my family friend and my mom know, and we all agreed to split it 3 ways. And I found a brand new unopened controller on Amazon that was only $32. So overall, that's not bad. The controller will be arriving between the 15th and 16th. So yeah, I'm wondering though how long it's going to be before this one breaks. And then will they even make controllers compatible with the TV that we have in the first place? After this one inevitably has the button sink in. It took, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It took 5 years for the button to sink into this one, because we got the TV back in 2021, I believe. So if it only took 5 years for this one, for the button to sink in from being pressed again and again and again, I'd imagine it would be the same story with this one, and that kind of sucks. It's like they built the product to be replaced, and that's terrible. I honestly don't know what they were thinking, but I guess what they were thinking is that, moha, we're not going to make it easy to repair the controller, so they'll be forced to buy a new one so we can make more money. Mohahaha. I mean, let's be real. That's usually all that it comes down to, money making. Very sad. But hey, at least the replacement controller wasn't too expensive, so I guess that's nice. Well, moving along, after I was done with my attempt to fix it, I decided to turn on my PlayStation 5 because I downloaded one of the free games that was being offered this month in January, Epic Mickey. Now, I never really got to play the original Epic Mickey. My brother, back when we were lent a copy of the game on for our Wii around 2010 or 11, I think, we got to try that version of the game out, which was quite cool. I just remember really enjoying the atmosphere and the environments and the just music and general tone and feel of the game. It really was something special that I haven't really seen replicated in many other games since, and it was really neat. Just the whole story of like taking characters that Disney didn't really use anymore at that point in time in 2008 and creating a story about like how they've been lost and forgotten, and how Mickey's trying to either choose to help them out or choose to make their lives even more miserable. It was a really compelling title, and I really wanted to play it, but I don't think I ever got to. I think my brother played it more than I did. I did play the sequel, but the sequel honestly was, I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't great either. They added voice acting in it, and the voice acting was so corny, and I just didn't like it at all. And then they added songs, and I just thought the songs were a little, like, really cheesy and corny too, and everything about it just felt so hokey compared to the original. I think it was because since they used only like mouth, like just grunts for the character voices, it allowed the audience to fill in their with their imagination what they thought the characters may sound like, and because of that, it ended up making the it just, because you were able to interpret what was going on yourself, it made the story seem a little more epic, if you will. Just because you could fill in the some of the blanks with your own imagination to really make it feel more cinematic, I guess. But then when they added voice acting in the sequel, Epic Mickey 2, The Power of Two, it just took away any kind of sense of coolness or epicness or interestingness, and it just ended up feeling like I was watching a corny Saturday morning made-for-kids TV show. Like, and I know it's Epic Mickey, and I know Mickey's for kids, and da-da-da-da-da. But, I don't know, there was just something special about the tone, vibe, and feel, and a universal feeling of appeal from the first one, and it was a shame they weren't able to replicate that with the second one. But with the first one, I was able to try it out, because they actually remade the game, Purple Lamp Studios, not Junction Point Games, because they got defunct after Disney decided to let go of their gaming division, and Epic Mickey 2 severely underperformed. So Purple Lamp Studios, the people behind the SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom remake, as well as the newer SpongeBob games, were put in charge of this title, and I think they did a really great job. The game looks phenomenal. There are certain aspects about it that do look a little weird, though. Like, you can tell that some of the more interactive elements of the game did not have proper lighting put into them. And so certain elements look like they kind of stand out like a sore thumb. The vibe it gives me is, if you've ever seen like a cartoon where it's clear when a character's going to grab an object from the background, that one object in the background is clearly like shaded and looks visually different from every other object in the background, because like the animator who was put in charge of making that scene had to draw that object the character was going to grab differently than the other objects so it could be animated. And that's exactly what the items you can interact with look like. So I guess in a weird way it kind of is metaphorical like representation of how 2D animated cartoons did certain effects back in the day, probably unintentionally though. And I feel like if the game had like some more advanced rendering technology like ray tracing, for example, it could blend objects into the environment better to make them look like they're actually there and not like they just are kind of pasted into an environment they don't belong, if that makes sense. Like the lighting and the way they interact with the environment just looks kind of weird. But anyways, I did play this game for like about, I think like a good like hour and a half. And I had a great time with it. It has a unique feeling to it that just, it's hard for me to really describe, but the best way I can put it is it just feels kind of moody. It feels atmospheric. It feels really like edgy, but not in a goofy edgy way, but in a appropriately edgy way, if that makes sense. Like they were able to do enough to make the game feel cool while not completely sacrificing what makes a character like Mickey or any of the characters from the game Wasteland so appealing and likable to a broader audience, if that makes sense. And I think that the development team, original Junction Point development team, did a great job doing that. And I think that Purple Lamp did a good job recreating what they saw. I got all the way up to a certain point where you have to fix the teacup ride and the elephant ride to get a reward. But I remember I was looking up at the teacup ride and there was a special treasure on top of the carousel, or like the parasol, I guess. And I really wanted that because I was like, why would the developers put that there just for you to look at it? I'm sure they put that there so you could get it. But no matter whatever method I tried, like double jumping, like going up on the teacup and constantly sliding off, I just wasn't able to get up there. And then I decided to just look it up because I didn't, before I was like, I don't want to be a coward. I don't want to look it up. But then when I couldn't find any way of doing it, I was like, okay, fine, I'll look it up. And it turns out that during your repair job of the machine, when you're filling the machine with paint, if you fill the machine with thinner, then you get access to that treasure. But the problem is, the guy who asks you to help ends up looking at you through a negative light, and that could affect like the other, the way other characters in the game see you later on in the game. Like I think there's sort of a villain versus good guy mechanic they got going on here, like risk versus reward, and the decisions you make and how they ultimately pay out in the end of the experience, which I think is a really cool thing to do for any kind of game like this. It's like not just a platformer, but it's also sort of like a RPG in a weird way. I'm not exactly sure if like that makes any sense, but it's like super interactive 3D platforming RPG, and I think that's really neat. There was a lot of games that were doing the bad versus good thing throughout the mid to late 2000s and early 2010s. Like there was Infamous, there was Spider-Man Web of Shadows, there was Prototype. I don't know why, but developers were so obsessed. Oh yeah, there was Mass Effect. Developers were extremely obsessed with like choice-based games at that point in time, which I think is really interesting. But moving on. After I watched that, played it, our family friend made a chorizo burrito for me. I got that, but she didn't heat up the tortilla. I had to do that myself because she wanted to eat, and so I was like, okay, I'll heat up the tortilla. I ate with her, and then after we're done eating, I cleaned some dishes that I left that I hadn't cleaned in like 2 days because I was like working. I was really tired, but today I had off, so I had the energy to do it. So yeah, I cleaned those. I put them away. And then me and my sister watched videos about child actor stars from like the mid to late 2000s who ended up having horrific lives later afterwards. Like we watched one about Corey from Corey in the House, and then we were going to watch another one. I'm forgetting the name of right now. I think it was like also one of the kids who appeared on That's So Raven. They grew up to like be a like into drugs, and it was really sad. But yeah, and then my sister was telling me all these interesting like theories people have about how like people who decide to sell out end up no longer being a real human, and they're just like a shell of themselves. And then like I just thought, oh, interesting. But after we were watching until 2:20, I was like, okay, I got to get ready for my dentist appointment because I called the day. Well, I didn't call the day, but I asked for this particular day off because of my dentist appointment. So I went into the restroom. I shaved my face because my face hadn't been shaved in a while. I wet my hair, I combed it, I put on some pants, and I left with everything I needed. So yeah, I said goodbye to my sister, that I love her, and then I drove off to the dentist. And when I got there, I was told that they actually told me they rescheduled, and that I was on the 23rd, and they asked me if I got a text, and I said, no, I didn't get a text, and they were like, well, you did, and don't worry, we'll send you another one, and be sure to call out that day. I'm like, oh, okay. So I checked, and I guess I did get the text, but I just didn't, like, read into it or anything. It was, like, under an undescribed number, but yeah, it would have been nice to know that earlier, because when they did change the schedule, it was, like, I already got that day off, and, I hope that doesn't happen again, because, like, calling for a day off or for work ahead of time, like 2 days ahead of time, is something like you only want to do every once in a while, because if you do it too much, then it would, I don't know, I guess you gotta do it when you need to do it, but I don't know, I think it's just ridiculous that like there changes the schedule midway after you ask for your day off and get it approved by your boss, and then stuff like this happens. It's frustrating. I don't like it. But after that, I decided to go to a nearby grocery store, because I was like, well, I went all this way, I might as well do something like other than go to the desk to kind of make use of the time, energy, and gas I spent to get here. And so I went to this nearby store, like an Aldi's, and man, it was completely different from the store that I had. One of the funniest things about it was that all the cashiers had their own chairs, which I thought was hilarious, because like like I'm like, dang, I guess they really want the cashiers to be as comfortable as possible, huh? Where I work, all the cashiers have to stand up no matter what. So interesting. I guess working at my store might be considered better for your health, because you have to keep on standing no matter what. So I think that makes it a pretty interesting place. Also, they were vacuuming the floors with the big industrial vacuum, which I thought was interesting, because where I work, they do that literally after everyone has left the store, and it's like after closing time. So the fact they were doing it while people were still shopping was like in the middle of the day, mind you, like around like 3:30, 3:40. I just thought was crazy. And yeah, I was looking around. The prices were pretty interesting. They weren't too bad. They're actually pretty good. But then I needed to use the restroom. I asked for the code. I punched in, did what I needed to do, got out. And I was like, oh, what should I do? I'm getting a headache. And luckily there was some water nearby, so I was able to drink, and my headache subsided a little bit. So I was able to do what I needed to do. When I went out, I decided to get some riced cauliflower because we don't have it at home, and I was in the mood for some keto fried rice. And I decided to get a Celsius beverage, the cherry cola one. And when I got that, I was like, dang, it's like I think it was like $1.95 there, which was interesting because at my job I think they're like $3, so they're like about $1.05 cheaper at the store that I went to. So I thought that was kind of neat, and that's why I got it really. But if I'm being honest with you, I don't really like it. I mean, the cherry cola, that and the grape flavor were the two only flavors they had in there. I got the cherry cola because I like cherry flavored stuff and I wanted to see if it was any good. I did not like this one. The Celsius cherry cola tasted extremely artificial and very chemically, and I just thought it wasn't good at all. My palate didn't like it. It also tasted slightly flat. Like there were bubbles still there, but it wasn't as like popping as the soda of Celsius I got at the store I work at, or drink. But yeah, so that was a shame. At least the rice cauliflower was cheaper than any of the rice cauliflowers at Walmart, so that was nice. I drove off back home. When I got home, I greeted my sister and our family friend. Our family friend was watching TV, my sister was hanging out with her, and I decided to make my dinner, which would be the keto fried rice. So I chopped up bacon, I fried the bacon, I started the air fryer, preheated that, took the chicken out, let it get to room temperature, put the chicken in the air fryer, turned it to 360 degrees for 8 minutes. Once the bacon was done fried, I put that in a napkin, then I put a little bit of the bacon grease away so it wouldn't be too fatty, and then I put the keto fried rice on. I tried to defrost that. Once it was defrosted, I put soy sauce, fish oil, mixed it all together, moved it to the side. I crushed in some garlic, some ginger, and poured some sesame seed oil. I fried those in until they were very fragrant and the flavor and juices were released. I then mixed that with the cauliflower rice that had the fish oil and the ginger, fish oil and the no. Oh gosh, what was it? Oh man, I'm blanking out on it right now. Let's just move on. So once that was mixed up, I moved it to the side. I cracked 2 eggs. And by the way, I followed the exact specification for the serving size, which was 85 grams for the rice cauliflower, because that was 3 grams of carbohydrates. So I'm trying to watch my carbohydrates. It was so small. I think it was much smaller than what Walmart's one bag of cauliflower rice was, which blew my mind. I was like, why is this so small? It's crazy. But anywho, yeah, I mixed the egg in, and the egg there was more scrambled egg in there than there was the cauliflower rice, which was hilarious. But there was enough of cauliflower rice to give it enough of a meatiness to it. Then I mixed the cooked bacon in there, and then I flipped over the chicken, continued cooking that in the air fryer, the chicken that I ate yesterday. And then I put my fried cauliflower rice into a bowl. I took the chicken out of the air fryer when it was done. And I had both, but of course I had the fried cauliflower rice first. I went into the back, I got an A&W Zero Sugar. Oh, I think I forgot to mention I drank that, so here I am now mentioning it. And I drank that, and I had my keto fried rice, and it was delicious. I loved it, but I didn't like the chicken. I thought the chicken had sort of a weird taste to it. Like, you know how you take something that was already cooked and then you reheat it again, and the flavor just isn't the same. It kind of tastes a little, something about it's a little wonky, but you don't know what it is. Like, it's not spoiled. Like, it doesn't have a sour taste to it, but it's also not like tender and juicy like it was when it was fresh. It's sort of like a weird middle ground where it's slightly rubbery, but it's also slightly juicy, but it also has a overwhelming flavor that you can't quite describe other than, I guess, overly chickeny. It's just something like that. Like, yeah, I didn't like it. And then when I was done with that, I think the chicken might have given me diarrhea because I needed to use the restroom and do my thing. When I was done, I decided to go for a 30-minute meditation outside. My mom arrived 10 minutes in the meditation, and I greeted her. And she mentioned that our orange cat, Malcolm, hadn't been seen in a while. And she was getting worried about him, so she was like, oh gosh, I sure hope that he's doing all right. And I said, all right, well, I'm going to go on a walk, and if I see him, I'll let you know. She's like, thank you. So I went on my walk for about a half hour. I was listening to an Area 52 podcast where James Fox was being interviewed about the Varginha case where he was talking to a neuro doctor who apparently witnessed the Bing. And it was so interesting, so compelling. And then because like there's this neuro doctor who's putting his career on the line, saying that he saw a real, alien being, and I just thought that maybe there's something here to this interesting tale. And then it goes on to talk about like a military guy who was 23 who got a scratch under his armpit when he was carrying the being into a car to be transported to a hospital, and then he ended up dying of an unknown bacterial infection. And the doctor who was treating him tried to throw every single medicine at him from the book, and nothing worked. So I just think all that's really interesting and some compelling stuff for sure. And then after my walk, I decided to comment on the video. And as I was sitting down in the front of my house commenting, I heard a cry of a cat, like a meow. I was like, oh no, there's a cat who's in trouble. What do I do? And then I looked behind me, and in our neighbor, on the side of our neighbor's house, there's a little like window at the bottom with like a netting covering, and I saw one of our cats, and it was Malcolm, our orange cat, youngest orange cat, or our orange cat, because our other one sadly passed away. And so I told my mom I found him and my sister, and they all went outside to verify. They saw with their own eyes. Then we went to our neighbor, let them know what happened. They said that area leads to the garage. So they opened the garage door. Cat ran out. Yay, the cat was free. It was awesome. And so I closed the door, and then me and my mom went back to our house, and then I decided to chill out in the front of the yard, or the driveway, watching different YouTube videos. I'm trying to remember exactly what they were about, but I honestly am blanking out right now, so I'm just gonna move on. And then I decided to go into my room and work on 20 minutes of editing on my Brain Jam Extra video. And when I was done with that, I decided to watch a video about Jensen doing a presentation at the NVIDIA conference in Las Vegas about their latest robot and AI advancements, and that was pretty interesting. It was about like a supercut that was like around 8 minutes long. And then I decided to do my contour line work, and hopefully you can see that here. I just found some random video on YouTube, and I just found whatever location I thought I'd be drawing. It's 6 hours of 4K beautiful places aerial views, and I took this shot of a mountainside, and I decided to redraw that here as to the best of my abilities in 15 minutes. I don't know if you can see it or not. Let me see if I can show you, but it looks a little rudimentary, but I'm glad I was able to put a little effort into that and, do something for today. There's one thing I missed out on today, and that was journaling. I mean, I could still journal right now if I want, but if I gotta be honest with you, I want to go to bed. I want to go to sleep. So I think I'll just journal in the morning tomorrow instead to make up for lost time. I guess this could count as a video journal anyways. Yeah, and then I decided to make this update video. So that's pretty much the day in a nutshell, and it was overall a pretty good day, although I will say I did have sort of a weird headache in the midpoint of the day after getting the rice cauliflower and driving home and then making my food. I don't know why, I just felt so like lethargic and like my head was super heavy, like I didn't like it at all. But overall, I was able to get through it, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching. I was able to get a good chunk of footage edited for Brain Jam Extra, so that's going smoothly, and I'll see you next time.